all of the Elden Beast attacks and how to avoid them or counter them. Let's go. Okay, so first up we got the hand slam attack. Basically just don't be underneath the hand as it slams down into the floor. Make sure to roll or move out the way. You can kind of see some stars on his hand a little bit as he raises it up, so just be on the lookout for that and move out the way. Next up we got golden breath. With this attack the Elden Beast will spew out a golden fire towards you. You can either just stand behind the Elden Beast if you can get behind to avoid it, or if you're in front of the Elden Beast just lock on and then hold down left or hold down right and you should avoid the attack. There's a bunch of general sword swing attacks. There's not too much that I can say about these apart from just roll through them. Most of the time I usually roll towards the attack to avoid it. There is one combo that it does where the sword attacks are a little bit delayed. So on that delayed attack you kind of have to delay your roll about half a second and then roll and you should avoid it. After a lot of sword attacks and sword combos, most of the time the Elden Beast will kind of be idle for about 1, 2 or 3 seconds. So make sure to be using that time to put in some damage or to use any items that you may need to use. He also does a swimming sword swing where he kind of swims away for a second and then turns around and swipes the sword, so just be on the lookout for it and roll through. With the black hole teleport you'll kind of see a cloud of stars start to appear and you can kind of hear the audio of the attack building up as well, so just keep your eyes and ears peeled for that and then just run out of the way of the explosion. Next we got the Nebula attack. With this one he kind of swipes his hand in an arc motion. Just be on the lookout for the stars and the cloud of magic and be out of the way and not in the explosion. He can also do the Nebula attack in a straight line towards you, so just run to your left or your right to avoid it. There's also a grab attack called Divine Punishment. The Elden Beast's left hand will start to glow a golden colour and then the beast's hands will sweep forward in an attempt to grab you. What I tend to do is roll into the grab and it usually avoids it. Make sure to get in some attacks after rolling through. Next we got the ringed explosion. The Elden Beast will kind of float up into the sky and the symbol of the Elden Ring will appear up in the air. With this one you have to run outside of the ring area that forms to avoid the explosion, and you will have to also jump over the rings that kind of close in on you. In the early stages of the fight there'll just be one ring that you have to jump over, but in the later stages there'll be 3 rings that you have to jump over. Up next we got the Elden Stars attack. With this attack the Elden Beast will send out a golden projectile that will just continuously follow you around, and if it does get close to you it will kind of like chip away at your health. It doesn't tend to do massive damage but it is really annoying. Basically just run away from the golden glowing star, and sometimes rolling through it and then running in the opposite direction to where it was going can be quite useful. This one is the Flying Flame Sword. The Elden Beast will fly up into the air for a little bit and his sword will catch on fire. As the attack is coming down towards you, just roll through it and you should avoid it. The attack does come down quite quick, so just watch out for it. There's also a dive attack where the Elden Beast will kind of dive underneath the ground / water and then either appear a short distance away from you or sometimes a long distance away from you. Not too much more to say on that one apart from just keep your eyes peeled as to where the Elden Beast has reappeared. Golden Wing Spears attack. With this one you kind of want to keep a lookout for where the attack was cast from and then make sure to sprint in a straight line in a kind of left-ish or right-ish motion away from where the attack was cast. You'll kind of get a feel for this one. It sometimes takes a little bit of practice to get it right, but basically as long as you keep on sprinting and those golden spears are hitting the ground behind you then you should be fine. And there's also a flying variant of this one which is basically the same attack but it just happens really fast and has less of a cast time, so just look out for it and do the same tactic as before. The Elden Beast also does a 3-hit combo in a sword swing smash attack. You'll swing his sword twice and then grab his sword and smash it into the floor. Once again just roll through the attacks. If you roll forward towards the Elden Beast on that 3rd smash attack then you get quite a lot of uptime to put in some damage. There's also a flaming sword combo. This one is quite fast and intense. His sword will set on fire and he just keeps on smashing away for a good few seconds. I tend to just roll a lot and sometimes roll forward and left to avoid most of the attacks, but by rolling forward and left I sometimes get clipped with the attack where he jams the sword into the floor. So I found that by rolling backwards and away from him I managed to avoid all of the sword swings. You kind of have to spam roll at first and then delay your rolls slightly after he's done a few strikes in the combo. Up next we've got Wave of Gold. Now I'm not going to lie to you, I've never been able to avoid this attack completely, but the attack itself seems to do multiple chunks of damage. So if you don't roll, you tend to get hit like 2 or 3 times in a row. However, if you do roll, you'll tend to get hit only once. So the best that I've ever really been able to do with this one is just roll and get hit once. And getting hit once is better than getting hit 3 times. I'd also recommend trying to keep your health topped up during this fight, because if he whips this attack out, you don't want to be at low health. He also does a spinning sword attack where he kind of winds up the sword and does a 360 spin. Just be on the lookout for the sword coming back around and roll to avoid it. There's also a flaming sword stab where he kind of sets the sword on fire and then jams it into the floor. Just make sure to run away or keep on rolling away to avoid the explosion. Next we'll take a look at the flying sword Crescents. This one kind of gives me a throwback to Sekiro's Divine Dragon boss fight. Essentially with this you just want to roll through the crescent attacks as they come towards you. The golden crescent itself does project towards you quite fast. The timing of your roll can vary a little bit depending on your distance between you and the Elden Beast, but like I mentioned, the crescent does come towards you quite fast, so most of the time if you're further away you'll want to be rolling forwards about half a second after you see the sword swipe, or if you're closer to the Elden Beast when this is happening you'll want to be rolling instantly. And just keep an eye out for the last sword swing in that combo because he kind of baits his hand a little bit and delays the sword swing, so just make sure to keep that in mind and delay your roll a little bit on that last one. It is worth mentioning that I do have boss guides for the vast majority of bosses on Elden Ring. Feel free to check them out on this channel.
Oh, rise now, ye tarnished, ye dead who yet live. The call of long-lost grace speaks to us all. Oh.